Nice in there. What? Can you hear it? I know, but you want to come down in here with me? I got a Western to introduce. I want to do this on a real authentic location, not a Western location, baseball location. So gonna have a little bit of a cut here in a couple seconds, and we're gonna go down into the dugout. So follow along. You coming? Oh, okay, good. Forgive me without my hat. Usually I got my hat with me, but it's kind of hot out here and windy, and I decided to take that hat and retire it for a few seconds. Oh, we're down here. This is beautiful. This is the dugout. I don't even know if this is the home field side or not. Shows you how often I've been around here. So I'm not sure. Well, Tumbleweed Theater, we've been at you for quite a few years now, and remember we started very early on. One of the earliest films that we showed on our show was a film called Under Western Stars. Under Western Stars in 1938 was Roy Rogers' first film that he really was the star of by himself. Remember earlier than that, he did a lot of Gene Autry type of stuff. He was an original member of the Sons of the Pioneers, and he broke loose in that film, 1938, and from there he became quite a star. And you know that he and Gene Autry were both significant Republic figures, and that when Gene Autry went off to the war, sort of Republic pushed the Roy Rogers into the king of the cowboy status. Now this film that we're watching tonight really very much references the 1938 film. It's called Under California Stars, 1948. Matter of fact, this is an anniversary film. Film is really about the marking of the 10-year anniversary of Roy Rogers' film career. And they talk about it. The film starts off basically with Roy Rogers on a film set, fake cliff type of thing, and you show all the cameras and all the equipment, and he's goes off and he's ready to go back to his ranch. And it's kind of interesting. It's like he's going back to his ranch. He hasn't seen it for a long time. I really don't understand if he actually hadn't seen it for 10 years. It's like he's been making movies for 10 years solid, you know, and he's let his boys, the Sons of the Pioneers back there and Andy Devine back there on the ranch, sort of run the whole thing for himself, and he wants to see what's going on. And I guess maybe he's only been corresponding with them for like with letters and things like that, because he keeps talking when he gets back there about, didn't you hire this guy like I told you to? Didn't you, you know, and what are the issues that are confronting us these days? Which is some rustlers out there trying to get into their horses and things like that. Now, the film, okay, very much is sort of that, not only an anniversary, but it's also a celebration of one of the key figures in Roy Rogers' life. Not Dale Evans, but Trigger. Film deals basically with Trigger being taken hostage and is held for ransom, and $100,000 is the ransom mark, and that's how much they are asking for to get old Trigger back. And of course this really upsets Roy, and Roy pulls out all the stops to find out where Trigger is. Now there's this little rascal of a kid who's sort of an orphaned-like kid. I mean, you got this stepfather who's a member of the bad guys, and he kind of beats on the boy and sort of threatens his dog and stuff like that. And this boy runs away and he joins Roy Rogers' group. And the boy sort of witnesses that Trigger's being kidnapped, and he's sort of cajoled by the bad guys. If you tell anything, we're going to blow your head off, and Roy Rogers and Trigger too. And of course that sort of puts a silence on the boy there for a while. And so the whole issue is that got to get the horse back. Now it's a big international thing, you know. It doesn't show like sometimes in these movies where you have this big event and they show newspaper headlines from different countries with different languages that say Trigger held ransom. That'd be kind of funny if they did. But they do show some big time newspapers showing that Trigger has been sort of taken and kidnapped. Now what's interesting about the whole thing is that it seems to really spark national interest, but they still only get the local sheriff involved. Okay? And it makes you wonder again, Where are the big law enforcement guys? Didn't the FBI, didn't they have anything to worry about with national treasure like Trigger being held hostage? Weren't they worried about that? Okay, I think that they would get involved, but no. Okay, keep it small. I mean, that's the issue with Roy and his boys. Well, don't fret too long. Obviously, they're going to get Trigger back. In the meantime, there's lots of great fights. Some pretty rough fights. This is a William Whitney film, and William Whitney made some of those tougher westerns where people get beat up and people's heads get to be threatened to get blown off. They don't show the heads being blown up, but they threaten to do that. They wouldn't do that in the Joseph Kane things. Joseph Kane, his films were more gentle and kind, I guess. William Whitney, he tough guy. You can threaten to blow a guy's head off. Okay, and Roy would put up with it. Sons of the Pioneers have some nice songs in this. Matter of fact, talking about that anniversary business, at the beginning when Roy takes off to go back to his ranch, one of the guys yells, "Hey, on your radio show," because he's going to do a radio show anniversary thing back there at the what is it, the Rolling R or whatever it is his ranch is, and he says, "Hey, sing that song Dust. We love that song Dust." Well, the song Dust was a song that he also sang in the first 1938 Under Western Stars. Remember when he showed the documentary, he was doing that song about dust, and there's these great shots of Dust Bowl and all the decimation of what the Dust Bowl was all about. So he does that again on his radio show. So there's a lot of contact back and forth between these things. So it's a movie about a movie in some ways. Likewise, one of the big changes, however, beyond having William Whitney come along on board now, this is a color film. Now, from about 1946 on, Roy Rogers' films would really go upscale, and he would be moving into, not Technicolor, but what's called True Color. And he was, it looks good. True Color was not as sharp as some of the Technicolor three-strip type of devices, but it really does really step him above other odors. Gene Autry not going to get into color that often, and others not really that often. But certainly Roy Rogers, it really shows the caliber of what the Republic people thought about him as their frontline B Western star. Well, I think you're going to enjoy this film. I think it's a lot of fun. And under California Stars, we're out here at the Ball Diamond. I've got to go out and, well, sort of clean up a little bit.
I get to work.
Okay. Well, I've got to do a little bit of my dusting. Okay. So maybe I should be singing the song Dust as well. Had a little rain out here. Got to make sure that it's safe for the boys to be spitting out here and throwing those all those seeds out here. Look.
What are you talking to? Come on,
they've been eating.
stop laughing.
Oh, okay.
Well, you gonna sing it or not?
I don't know how it goes. Ha!
See the fruit.
Roll 'em, Smokey.
Oh, fire like that.
Ah.